Bev and I are excited to share with you this amazing color palette that we're creating so many of our color pieces, the Walden color studies in right now. And it's pulled from the Baroque art era. It's colors that were used by some of the greatest artists during the Baroque era. And even the lighting and the different things that we do to execute these pieces are done in such a way that we pull the qualities and the vision and the mindset from that particular art era. The lighting I like to call North Light. We've created lighting in the studio that emulates a beautiful North Light window and has a very soft and timeless and rich look. And I want to share this concept with you because we're just having such a great time creating these pieces. And you know, the colors that we work in are critical. And that becomes kind of the starting point for how that portrait is going to turn out. And I know for a lot of people, it's one of the hardest things. It's like, I don't know what to wear. What should I wear? Well, we've taken advantage of that to say, we can help with that. We put together a palette that will translate stunning, rich, classic, investment worthy, timeless. All of those words can be attached to the Baroque color palette. And it's simple. I think some of the things we just complicate things. You know, it's like, oh, I look good in red and my daughter looks good with stripes and all this stuff. And we just end up with this barrage of pattern and color that just jumps off of that image, and it doesn't allow us to enjoy the subtleties and the qualities of that particular family. Clothing should bow its knee, but it's very important that as it does so, it still does it in a rich and beautiful fashion. So the Baroque color palette pulled from that era with colors that translate beautiful in a Walden color study. And we've created for you a palette that we can send to you. And you got to realize that with this color palette, it's pretty specific. It's got a level of forgiveness to it, but it's pretty specific. But we're going to encourage you to stay within this palette, because staying within the palette is going to guarantee that the results is everything that you want it to be. As you divert from the color palette or from the premise, then it affects the outcome of that particular art piece. And so the color palette basically works with what we call base colors and accent colors. Sometimes accent colors can be used as the only color, and you'll see that in a few images. But the base colors serve kind of as a vignette. So if you have a family, say of 3 or 4 or 5, 6 people, you don't want to have all of these lighter tones around different places in that photograph. You want deeper tones that serve, again, like a vignette. They kind of encompass the family and bring you to the upper body and the primary part we want to look at, the beautiful faces and body language of our subjects. So the base colors you can see are very deep. Black, always timeless. That's why so many women have that little black dress that they invest so much in and put in their closet. It's always in style. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. And a lot of the portraits we do, or if it's one person, may just be in black. That's wonderful. Or we pick a couple of levels of chocolates, deep grays, or even deep, deep royal blues. Those can be beautiful as base colors. And then the accent colors we marry to the base appropriately. Could be like a champagne color, a lighter gray, a warm gray, maybe even a deep kind of teal. You might see some burnt kind of umber colors here on the accents, and those can be in the upper body. That could be with a blouse or a shirt for the guys, a tie, a vest, something along those lines. I love kind of like a dressy but yet sloppy, the shirt unbuttoned and maybe not a jacket on but a vest on one of the kids or the boys, the men, something along those lines. There's options there. So the base colors vignette, and then the accent colors bring us up to the people. Now, as we get into smaller groupings or children or one person, it's fine to actually use just the accent colors, but we'll collaborate on that with you. And one of the things you need to also realize is it's not just about choosing colors. When we work in the Baroque color palette, that makes all of our decisions. We've created a beautiful light source in our studio that's very much reminiscent of North Light that many of the great artists would use paint by window light. North light meaning a reflected soft light. And so we've created that in the studio, very beautiful, one light source that feels like you're in front of a beautiful a window just with reflected north light coming through. It's just so gorgeous. It's great for the skin tones. We do a little bit of work on color sometimes, what we call color grading, and you might see that we might actually cool a background down from what it actually is, so that, because the cool recedes and warm comes forward. So it allows us to pull that attention to our subject. We might go just a little bit of less saturation in the skin tone so that it just looks like pearl or something along those lines, where it just glistens or glows. So there's a lot of art technique. And then, of course, our art department creates beautiful high-level art where it feels very painterly. It's not a painting, it's a color study, but it feels very painterly when you look at it. It's a timeless piece. So these are the colors that we'll collaborate on. And if you have to borrow something, if you have to rent something, if you have to go buy something, maybe you have it, that's great. We're going to encourage you to do so, because we've learned that making compromises in this area will make compromises in that final portrait, and we don't want to do that. So we want to make very sure that we work within colors that work beautifully, and we can help you with that. We have a stylist on staff. We're happy to have her work with you too, to help you make those decisions, or we'll help you any way we can. We can talk about that with you. But you can see here, just with this young lady, the pose, it feels very Renaissance. And then we took the background and we cooled it down just a little bit to let her just pop off of that. The light is simple. It's not like some kind of sports lighting or fashion lighting. It's beautiful Renaissance lighting. And it's something that's going to look amazing on your wall and on their wall as your children grow, and those pieces are passed down from generation to generation. This happens to be an outfit we actually have at the studio. We purchased a couple of outfits for the young ladies, and we're accumulating some things to make sure that we get this done just right for you. But it's that beautiful kind of soft gray. I just love it. Little bit of texture. And look at the pose. I mean, it's just not so cutesy. It's classic and it's rich. And look at her skin, how it just looks almost like it's lit from the inside out. That's something we work very hard to accommodate. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but the background has a little bit of texture, but there's nothing in that background to draw you away from her. It's just the right amount of texture, subtlety, things along those lines. And this is an image we did of her and her sister. So you can see the same qualities that go into that. So this is kind of that whole Baroque feel that we're going to get for you with this color palette. It also determines expression. We want pensive, more passive, more timeless expressions as we create these pieces. So all determinations are made by the color palette that we choose to work in. This I love because look at this beautiful young lady. Now this is working with just an accent color, but because she's alone, there's not a lot of other things going on. We chose an accent color for this particular portrait. The pose, just simple. There's nothing about it that's going to get old or feel old. We pulled the back of her dress out just a little bit to give it the feel of motion, and then we kind of posed it to kind of carry that through to create this particular portrait of her. And of this family, you can see kind of even the posing is very reminiscent of some of the great artists. It's not quite as bring the chair up and tip the head and the wrist and just overpose it. It's classic, but it's simple. And I think simple is a good word to attach to it. And so it stands that test of time, and it really fits the color palette. This, again, working all in black. We actually have the dresses for the little girls here. And I think Mom actually rented this dress. And then he had just a little vest, and then we picked up one of the accent colors for his shirt, one of the warmer, lighter grays, and it's really beautiful. And you can see then as we created this portrait of him alone, because I encourage you to do the family, and then we'll do the children independently or break the group down from there. But you can see how this translates. So the lighting, very much like a north light, the skin just beautiful glow to it, a little bit of texture in the background, the palette, rich Renaissance, and I think really fabulous. The Baroque palette, it's one that will work with you, will help you vision, will help you get all those pieces together and create a beautiful portrait for you.